So let's start with, well, this is more of a riddle. So what's a good meeting like, generally speaking? So I think it has all of these criteria, at least. So it has to have the right people. They should have all the data that they want to make decisions on. It should be up to date. They should have some very, very clear goals for the meeting, sort of like an agenda. There should be some flexibility in the whole thing, so they can react to changes as they discuss the agenda. And in the end, they should be able to make an accurate report for people affected, right? So this is, generally speaking, this sounds good. What we have found, though, is that a typical meeting is like this. So almost all teams, including chemistry research teams, have remote partners, CROs, consultants, or simply off-site people. This in itself creates a huge time and space barrier. They almost always go into these meetings with outdated information or no data at all. They could use their workstation tools, but at some point those are distracting in a meeting. Generally, people use a whiteboard. They draw on it with a pencil, and then they take a photo. That's not really accurate reporting. That's cumbersome reporting. But the good thing is that there is a very, very strong collaboration desire. That's what we found. So this is where Marvin Live comes in. We would like to call it a virtual research meeting room. And with it, you can do these things. Let's start. So the first one is that you can work with off-site people on small molecules. So that's the basic thing. But it scales very, very nicely, as we found out. So you don't just have to use it for that one meeting that you have at the beginning of the week or the end of the week or the whatever meeting. You can rejoin that meeting from 2 weeks later, and doing so, track an entire project. You don't have to use it with the entire team. You can just use it yourself to prepare for that meeting. So in a sense, you can use it as a personal idea repository. And it's very easy to use this application, so you can also use it for ad hoc discussions. I have a problem. I didn't know I would have this problem. There's no planning involved, no scheduling involved. You can just call up the other guy, and if they're free, they should be able to help you. And in addition, mentioned cumbersome reporting, we have some great things to simplify meeting preparation and follow-up. So how do we do this? The first bit is that in Marvin Live, we have Marvin.js, and we have connected them. We can synchronize the changes that are happening. So as you can see on this animation, if one guy is drawing, all the others can see that. With this, you can design and review chemical structures together with your team members. It's very, very fast, comparable to something like Facebook chat. It's completely automatic. There's built-in moderation. As you can see at the top, somebody else is drawing. I should wait a little bit. And this is powered by Marvin.js. In fact, it couldn't be powered by anything else. The second bit is that as you draw your compounds, we can pull in information for you from any connected service. This doesn't necessarily have to be web service. This can be the SQL database. This can be command line tools. This can be a file somewhere. We can connect to it. This is very, very useful to prevent mistakes early on. Here I have a couple of examples, but the list is actually very, very, very long. So I'm going to read this out for you. We have examples for every single one of these, and the list keeps growing. So we can calculate new information, basically look at basic MedChem properties. We can calculate conformers. We can calculate overlays. We can call QSR models. We can run enumerations. And we can, of course, call workflows and protocols. We can also find available information in databases. We can look at assay and compound registration databases. We can look at patent databases and do white space analysis. We can call content databases like Reaxys to look at facts and references. If your meeting reports are searchable, then we can give you some context about previous discussions on this compound. We can talk to e-molecules to get availability information on the building blocks. And of course, we can look at regulations with compliance checker. This is very, very customizable. You should be able to use it for anything that you have within the company. Now, as you use the application, and I will show you how it looks like put together in a second, you have a chance to save important ideas. So once you have reached a consensus with the team members, once you have reached a significant milestone, you can save it. What gets saved is the chemical structure, the author, and the timestamp at the very least. This is the step before you can claim your intellectual property. So this is an extremely important point. But we can use this for other purposes. We can help you with the meeting reports by generating what is possible to generate. So if you want to show this, the proceedings of a meeting to a colleague who is not necessarily a chemist, then you can, with a single click, create a PowerPoint presentation. Or if you want to use the new ideas in a different cheminformatics application, then we can give you an SD file. And this too is customizable. Put together, the whole thing is basically a meeting room service. So the organizing principle within the application are rooms, but these rooms don't require scheduling, and you can have as many rooms going parallel or idle as you want. And above that, we have authorization, authentication to create separate spaces. One possible use would be, for instance, to create a space for internal discussion and another for every single CRO that you want to work with. Or just one space for each project, depending on how you set up your rules within the company. We support the most common authentication methods, so LDAP, Active Directory, SAML, and you can apply your data retention policies, so we can remove idle information from the system automatically, or provide backups of this crucial information if needed. So put together, the whole thing looks like this. These are two guys who are not in the same country using the application, and what you will see is that as the left guy does something, it shows up for the right guy. It's very, very simple for them to use it. So if they add that new 5-member ring, it shows up instantly for the other guy. And then you should notice that the assay database search automatically reacts as they make modifications. It shouldn't be distracting. It should give you some summary if there is data there. And if you have an idea, hey, that looks wrong from solubility's point of view, you can just enable calculated properties. It will give you the numbers, and you can make a few tweaks to see if that fixes it, as opposed to doing it after the meeting and then trying to find your colleague again for some extra help. So we can call in anything that you have available or that you trust from external sources to help with the design process, but in the end, when you're happy with the results, you can save it as a new snapshot and move on to the next one. Once you're done, you would make your reports, you would save something to share with the others. So the two use cases I mentioned, the first one would be like a PowerPoint slide, which has the structure, the author, the timestamp, and the data that we were looking at. And the other use would be like a chemical structure file. This is an MRV, which you can open up in Marvin Sketch, Marvin View, what have you, and just use the structures further. Few words about technology, because this is a new application, and we need to say a few words about technology. Well, there is no client installation, so this is entirely a web-based application. We support all the modern browsers, and new for us, this is a Node.js-based application. So the installation is very, very simple, and the application starts like this. It's very, very quick to use this. All customization is done with JavaScript-based plugins, which we found is a great thing because everybody's excited to use this language. It's very, very accessible to start at the least. As I mentioned, the bandwidth requirement, which is a crucial point if you work with somebody on a different continent. The bandwidth requirement is very, very low, and all of this put together, the application is cloud ready. We released the very, very, very first version this January, And since then, we've been working on, well, extended support for not just medicinal chemists, but other chemistry disciplines, including computational chemists, biologists who may be part of the project team, and so on. I have a quote for you. This is the best I could find on short notice in all the emails that we got. But it kind of speaks for itself. So after 10 meetings, it would be very, very hard to meet without this. This came from somebody who purchased it in Sweden. And with that, I thank you.
I didn't hear anything about security.
I mentioned that we support all the common authentication systems, so you can tie it to your identity provider, ADAP, Active Directory, or SAML. And as you log into the application, you log into that space that was set up with its own list of rooms, with its own list of plugins, with its own list of participants. So everything is entirely separate within the application's independently authenticated spaces. So it works as it should.
Because I worry about sending structures over the internet.
Right. So if you were to deploy this application on like a cloud server of your choice, then I think you have all the options in the application to do this in a secure manner. So we support HTTPS, we support secure cookies, we support, well, again, the identity provider to make sure that only the authorized person can use the application. There are measures that prevent tampering or man-in-the-middle attacks, and I can go on and on. So our demo sites actually run on Amazon, and somebody who knows about the technical aspects should, well, review it and tell us what's missing. We would like to have a hosted version of this application, as Ivan and everybody mentioned, at some point. We just need to find out what's missing before we can confidently say that, well, there you go.
Thank you. I think this is a great idea to put these things online. So I have two questions here. So one is that it can support multiple persons that they can draw the structure together. Or for example, one person is drawing the structure or adding something. The other people is the screen is like read only, or they can modify something together, or some conflicts for that.
They can modify it. So in essence, it works like Google Docs for chemistry, right? Okay. So you can type at the same time, you can draw at the same time. The reason I mentioned we have a built-in moderator is because you need that when everybody can draw at the same time. Otherwise, you will have a mess.
Okay, okay. So it can save different versions, so they can come back to the previous drawing or something for that.
So everybody sees the same structure because we synchronize automatically.
Okay.
So you can add to the latest version of the compound. If you've saved the idea as a snapshot, as an important milestone or something that you reached a consensus on, then you can, of course, go back to those. And you have undo, redo in Marvin.js, so you can very easily refine the idea if you figured out that's the wrong path. We should go that way.
Okay. So another question is, so do you have any plan to integrate this function or these tools with other common, like the WebEx or LAN meeting something together? So once we are in, because we are all use some the common meeting tools.
So going off of Ivan's comment on how this new release policy applies to new developments, we were trying to validate the idea this time last year, actually, and that's where the whole thing started. Unfortunately, none of the tools have the right plugin capabilities, so we cannot give you the synchronized catcher within WebEx or GoToMeeting or Skype or anything like that. So that's why we have this separate tool. There is no way to round it. But luckily, this is compatible with all. So there is no, I don't know, technical issue that would prevent you from using WebEx as the audio component and Marvin Live as the chemistry component. But on the other hand, we do have sharing options in the application, so you can very easily invite others or just send them an email that, hey, this is where I am, please help me with this issue that I have, or this is where we will have the project review meeting. So it should be very, very easy to use it with another application.